Subhanallah, Salman realizes, understands, confirms that he has all four signs, and he says, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu annaka Rasulullah. But he raises his hand and he says, may I speak? Rasulullah of course says, go ahead, you know. And Salman says, well, where I came from, if we are facing such a huge threat, the very first thing that we would do is to dig a trench. We need to create a big gap between them and us.
I will not fall, but I'm forgotten. I'm standing tall, I feel abandoned.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuhu. Welcome to this video. If you haven't seen my previous videos on Masjid Al-Aqsa complex and the various sites there, please watch them. The link for the videos in the playlist above. We've just had breakfast now, having a typical light breakfast that we normally do have whenever we travel. We're feeling so tired, we've been traveling so much.
You eat.
You eat, bro. You eat. We're going to visit Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam and his wife Sarah alayhi salam, and then Isaac alayhi salam and his wife Rebecca alayhi salam. And we might try to visit Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam, which may not be possible, but we're going to ask the caretaker, and then we're going to try to visit Yaqub alayhi salam, which is a very cool chance we can do it. After that, we're going to visit the olive tree, and we're going to visit a few other places, so stay tuned for more. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Right, so
How much are these bags?
3 for $15. 3.
Give me three. Give me 4, yeah?
4 for 20. Okay, yes. 1, 2, 3. Here's 4.
And handmade, yeah?
Two blacks and 2 browns.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
The black one.
Different size, brother. I would show you.
Brother, these hats don't look good on me. I normally wear these type of hats.
You can do it. Very bigger. You can do it. God bless you. What else? You don't need the leather one here? This is only 100. You search all over $50. I give it to you for just 100 shekels. You see?
This is what you wanted, isn't it?
Does this hat suit me? What do you think, guys? Let me know in the comments. Yeah?
على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه ومن سار على دربه واهتدى بهديه إلى يوم أن نلقاه. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. Brothers and sisters, welcome again for another beautiful day, inshallah, in the Holy Land. Today we do have a full day, a very, very exciting, interesting, full of very nice places, a lot of politics today, traditions, customs, and much more, inshallah. So get ready. I'm going to make sure that you guys do not get bored. So we're going to be asking you some questions, hopefully that you remember some of the information of yesterday's, inshallah. But as always, we will start, inshallah, with Dua al-Safar. So, any volunteers? No volunteers.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar.
سبحان الذي
سبحان الذي سخر لنا هذا وما كنا له ومقرنين وإنا إلى ربنا لمنقلبون. اللهم أنت الصاحب في السفر والخليفة في الأهل والمال والولد. اللهم إني أعوذ بك
من وعثاء السفر
من وعثاء السفر
وكآبة المنظر
وكآبة المنظر
وسوء المنقلب
وسوء المنقلب
في المال
والأهل
والولد
والولد.
حسبنا الله
حسبنا
ونعم
الله
الوكيل.
ونعم الوكيل. Brothers and sisters, the name Shaykh Jarrah has been on the news for the last few years. If you guys remember, we are exactly in the area of Shaykh Jarrah. Shaykh Jarrah is the area where Israelis are trying to take over Arab-Palestinian land, houses, businesses included. They started by saying that the land belongs to a Jewish owner since the 1880s, like 170 years back. And now they are wanting to claim that land to be theirs since one of their ancestors bought the land. Of course, that is not true. The land belongs to the Arab-Palestinian owners. However, unfortunately, as I mentioned, they lack the proper documentations for it. Therefore, they ended up in court. The court now is trying to get to know, like if they do not know who's right and who's wrong. In this country, if you do not have the proper documentations, most likely you will lose it, okay? And I mentioned yesterday that many people used to, in the older days, to buy and sell things as trading more than buying and selling. That means they did not really care much to document things on papers and have people sign and so on. So as I mentioned yesterday, if I have like 2 cows or 5 sheep and you have a small piece of land, or and you wanted my cows, I wanted your house, so we just go ahead and trade them, and that deal is done. 150 years after, people died, people traveled, you do not really have anything that proves that that deal was conducted. So Shaykh Jarrah is a very famous case, very famous issue, still in court system. Some houses have been evicted, people have been evacuated. Israelis, just like David's tomb yesterday, they discovered a cave in there, and they said, okay, well, it's
They discovered something.
the cave belongs to one of the most famous rabbis since the Second Temple period, like 2,500 years back, let's say. They have a rabbi who's buried in that cave, and that place became a pilgrimage site for Jewish people. So from that time on, of course, they are now in hundreds coming and praying next to that tomb, which of course created a very big problem, because that cave is right at the very heart of the Arab-Palestinian small neighborhood. So now you have people coming in and out, and on their special holidays, they just shut down the whole area for them so they can go in and pray. I'm not starting the day with negative things. I'm going to start with a positive thing, inshallah. We are heading, no. First, we are going to have a very good day today. That is, inshallah. That's my instructor's first order to me. He said, always when you start your day, tell your people that you are going to have a very good day today, inshallah. So we are going to have, with a positive energy, inshallah, a very good day today. Add to that, if you look through the right-hand side window in 5 seconds, more or less, you will see the old city with the Dome of the Rock. And we will be able to get to see it, inshallah, in a much closer look from a higher elevation. You will be able to see the Dome of the Rock. You will be able to see Masjid Aqsa Mubarak once we get to the most famous panoramic view area of Jerusalem, inshallah ta'ala. We are heading towards Mount of Olives. Mount of Olives is a very, very important site, both for Muslims and Christians. However, for Christians, it's way much more important, because, as I mentioned yesterday, those who, I think that we all went to the Holy Sepulchre Church, except for a very few number of those who got lost or did not continue. But as I mentioned yesterday, Christians believe that Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam ascended to heaven, and that's something that we have in common with them. However, we believe, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught us in the Quran, وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ بَعْدَ أَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ بِسْمِ اللَّهِ الرَّحْمَنِ الرَّحِيمِ وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ وَمَا صَلَبُوهُ وَلَكِنْ شُبِّهَ لَهُمْ. And that's when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took Isa up to heavens, and he was not killed or crucified. According to the Christians, they believe that he was crucified on Friday about, let's say, 10 a.m. according to their Bible. and then he was declared dead about 5 p.m. more or less. That's why when we went yesterday to the church, they were doing the prayers on Friday evening. So Sunday he was resurrected. 40 days after the resurrection, he ascended to heaven from Mount of Olives. So this is the place where he ascended to heaven from. Therefore, the place has so many different churches and monasteries for all different denominations. If you guys remember yesterday, we talked about Greek Orthodox, we talked about Franciscan Catholics, Syriacs, Copts, and Armenians, right? Those are the 5 denominations inside the Holy Sepulchre Church. So we do have so many different churches over here because they believe that he will return to the same place where he ascended from. So they are waiting and preparing for him so he can return to the place where he ascended. Therefore, we do have a lot of Christian property on Mount of Olives. The neighborhood itself is more than 98% Muslim community. However, we do have much more Christian property than Christian residents on Mount of Olives. Again, I'm not trying to, when I talk about Muslims and Christians, just trying to give you percentages, not that we are trying to make big differences and distinguish between Muslims and Christians, again, according to their religion or any of that. That's not what I do as a tour guide, but just to give you an idea of how people are living together in the Holy Land over here. So again, many Christian sites, less Christian people. Our first site, however, will be visiting Maqam Sayyidina Salman Al-Farsi radiyallahu anhu. We will be getting off the bus in about a minute, not even less than a minute. I advise you not to take anything that you will not be using. Okay, we will walk for something like 3 minutes. Do not take heavy bags or any of that stuff, purses and stuff of that sort. You will not need them. It's just going to be a burden taking them in and taking them out. The bus will be secured. The bus driver will be on the bus at all times. Hook on your whisper systems so we can start communicating during our tour with the whisper system, inshallah. Are you guys ready? Don't tell me that you are sleeping. You got your breakfast fixed for you. Your bed is fixed for you. You are on vacation. Enjoy your time. Are you guys ready? Yeah. All right. Give me some energy. Come on.
सबसे प्यारा नबी जिसके हुए बिन देखे सभी वो है सबसे प्यारा नबी जिसके हुए बिन देखे सभी जब हुस्न था उनका जलवा नुमा अनवार का आलम क्या होगा हर कोई फिदा बिन देखे है दीदार का आलम क्या होगा एक सिमत अली एक सिमत उमर सिद्दीक इधर उस्मान उधर इन जगमग जगमग तारों में सरकार का आलम क्या होगा हर कोई फिदा बिन देखे है दीदार का आलम क्या होगा दीदार का आलम क्या होगा जिस वक्त हलीमा की गोदी अनवार खुदा से रोशन थी उस वक्त हलीमा दाई के घर बार का आलम क्या होगा चाहे तो इशारे से अपने काया ही पलट दे दुनिया की ये शान है उनके गुलामों की सरकार का आलम क्या होगा सुन सुन के सहाबा की बातें मुशरिक ईमान ले आते थे फिर मेरे रसूल अकरम की गुफ्तार का आलम क्या होगा तैबा से हवाएं आती हैं बैकल को सुकून मिल जाता है
बिस्मिल्लाह वल्हम्दुलिल्लाह वस्सलातु वस्सलामु अला रसूलिल्लाह व अला आलिहि व सहबिहि व मन वाला ومن سار على دربه واهتدى بهديه إلى يوم أن نلقاه اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما باركت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. I've just started the fans over here, so if that bothers anybody, just let me know. It will be better if you use the whisper system because the fans will make some extra noise that might bother you. Brothers and sisters, we are in this very special place right next to Maqam known as Maqam Sayyidina Salman Al-Farsi radiyallahu anhu. Salman Al-Farsi is a very, very famous companion of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I believe that most of you did read Seerah books. You guys can hear me with this? Yours is, you turn it on and off? You do. Salman Farisi was given the title in Seerah books as the truth seeker. The truth seeker. His story starts when he was a young child in Persia yet. You know from his name that he came from Persia, Farisi. So it happens that he was born into a priesthood family. His father was the high priest who was serving in the temple. Majus people at that time, they were worshipping fire, so his father's duty was to keep that fire on so people can always come in and pray in the temple. His father, of course, did have plans already set for his successor, for Salman to come in and continue that work. Salman was a very curious young man, so his father was sending him out to attend a nearby farm that the father owned. One day when Salman was attending that farm, he passes by a building and he hears people like singing or praying in a different language, something that he was not really familiar with. So being a curious boy, he just gets closer and closer and he starts listening to what those people are talking. What kind of language was that? Are they singing? Are they praying? What's going on here? And before he knows it, he's already inside and he's like witnessing a sermon. They were just praying, just like what we saw them yesterday in the Holy Sepulchre Church. And he goes and asks like, who are you guys? Where do you come from? You are dressed different. You speak different. What's going on here? So they tell him that they were Christians. And there was like a new church in that area, borderline area between Persia and Bilad al-Sham. So he goes in and he starts asking questions about the religion. What do you believe in? What type of prayers are you doing? What's going on here? So they tell him that they believe in God and they are Christians and they have a different religion that he has. He becomes more curious and he wants to know more. So he continuously comes and visits and he tells his father that he met those strangers and he had that type of discussion with them. And his father, of course, automatically starts feeling like, okay, well, my son is getting interested in that religion. I don't want that to happen. So he holds Salman, he tells him, I don't want you to go and meet those kuffar anymore, okay? We are the ones, the true religion. Those are just strangers. They have a strange religion. Do not go there. Do not believe in their religion. Stay with us. You have a future ahead of you. You will be the next priest in the family and so on. That does not really convince Salman. He feels that there is something different in their religion, different than the new religion that he just saw with those guys or met with those guys. So he keeps visiting them until his father decides that it's time to lock him down in the house. He realizes that if he leaves Salman or lets Salman go and visit those guys, most likely Salman is going to follow their religion. So he decides to lock him down in the house. Salman manages to send a signal or a sign to the priests that whenever you go back to Syria, to Damascus, to Antioch, to Jerusalem, main Christian capitals or cities at that time, please give me a sign. I do want to join you. I want to leave my family. I want to leave this area. I want to become a follower of your religion. And that's what happens. So Salman actually manages to break his locks and he follows that caravan. He follows those people back and he starts learning his new religion. Being a very smart young man, Salman was not actually satisfied just to get his knowledge or his deen from anybody. So he cared much to go and to join the high priest, to join the one who has the most knowledge and to become, in Arabic tradition, we call him murid, to become like his shadow. He wants to be with him like 24/7. He wants to learn everything from the high priest. That just shows us how serious Salman was in that religion. So he keeps moving from one high priest to another high priest. Salman is very young. Usually priests are way much older. So before the high priest is dying, he would go and ask him, who is the best person that you advise me to go to so I continue learn my deen from. So that way actually he managed to travel again from one place to the other, trying to get advanced in his deen. Finally, he is with his high priest. The high priest is just about to die, and Salman asked him the traditional question, who is the next priest that would advise me to go and join? And that high priest actually tells him something very strange. He tells him it's about time that the Arabian prophet is sent. So he gives him his signs and he tells him to go look for him, and once you find him, make sure that you follow him. He is a true prophet. So Salman, of course, asks questions. As I mentioned, he was very curious, like, how can I identify him? The high priest tells him 4 different signs that if you have them in that person simultaneously, you make sure that that is the true prophet. Make sure that you follow him. The first one is that Jewish people will not follow him. They will just deny him. The second sign, that he does accept sadaqah. However, he does not eat from sadaqah money. The third sign is that he accepts hadiyah and he eats from hadiyah. And the fourth sign is he has like a birthmark sign right in between his shoulders, known in Arabic as Khatam al-Nubuwah. That is one special birthmark that nobody can actually fake. It's just there. So Salman actually doesn't, again, waste any time. He sells everything that he had collected in his lifetime with the church, and he joins the very first caravan that makes its way towards Arabia, towards Yathrib at that time. Was not Medina yet. Salman joins that caravan, and saying that with a lot of sorrow, Arab people were, and unfortunately becoming again, very racist people. So to them, Salman was a stranger. Salman was Pharisee, and to add to that, he's loaded with money. You know, he's just sold everything, and now he has a lot of money, and he's from Persia. That means that he does not really have a big tribe that will come and try to defend him or free him or make a war or start a war for him. Technically, he's a nobody in the Arabian Peninsula. So therefore, they say, okay, well, we can just have a win-win situation. We can enslave him, sell him as a slave. We can take all his money, and nobody's going to know nothing about it. Just like what happened with Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam. So Salman leaves as a free man. He arrives in Yathrib as a slave. Nothing in his hands. Add to that, he's a slave. But Salman, subhanAllah, doesn't really care much for that. He had a mission. He has something in his mind that all what he wanted to do is just to meet and follow Rasulullah. So for him, it did not really mean much if he follows Rasulullah as a free man or as a slave. That what he was focusing on is trying to look and find Rasulullah. He ends up being a slave in a palm tree farm owned by Jewish people. And as any other slave, peasant, he just works the farm, tried to make his living, and just stays there until one day while he was working one of those trees, he hears 2 of his bosses talking about, oh, did you know about the guy who just arrived from Mecca? He claims to be a prophet. He just brought in many, many people, poor people from Mecca. They just left their families, they left their businesses, they left their money, and they just arrived in our city over here. And of course, that is exactly the sign that Salman was waiting for. So he climbs down from that, or he comes down from that palm tree quietly, and he stands silently to the side, and he tries to hear the 2 Jewish people talking about Rasulullah and describing him. He was on a mission to try to find him and meet him. So one of them tells the other, oh, what are you trying to do about it? Or what are your intentions? Should we go check him out? Maybe he's the true prophet that's mentioned in our books as well. So of course he says, no, forget about it. We do have our own religion. He's like a liar. We will not follow him. So Salman says, okay, well, that's 1 out of 4. Let's go out and check out the other signs that my master had already told me about. So since he works in a big palm tree farm, he takes a big basket of dates and he goes and greets Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That was a habit. Whenever people have like a visitor, they will go and greet him. So just like many people in Medina, he goes to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam with a big basket of dates and he tells Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I heard that you came with a lot of people and you guys do not really have much to eat, places to stay. So I brought you this basket of dates and this is from our sadaqah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam takes that sadaqah date basket and he starts giving it out to his companions so they can eat from it, and he doesn't eat from it. Salman, of course, is looking from the side, keeping silent and trying to check out what's going to happen with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He doesn't eat from it. Few days after, Salman comes again and brings another big basket of dates. He greets him again and he says, I did bring you another big basket of dates for you and your companions, and this is hadiyah from me personally to you. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam accepts that hadiyah and he eats from it and he passes it over to his companions. And Salman, of course, is happier now since he has already 3 out of 4. Now the 4th sign was the hardest to get to check, because Rasulullah, as described in Sirah books, was almost never seen even with uncovered shoulders. He's always covered up. So Salman, yet he has to check out personally that sign. So he does his best. He kind of walks right behind Rasulullah on different occasions and he tries to sneak. Hopefully he will be able to see that birthmark sign in between his shoulders. Time after time, Rasulullah notices Salman's intentions. He understands that Salman is looking for that sign. So he just comes to Salman and he uncovers his shoulder and he says to him, Salman, perhaps you're looking for this. Subhanallah, Salman realizes, understands, confirms that he has all 4 signs and he says, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu annaka Rasulullah. So he becomes a follower of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam right then and there. However, until now, Salman is just like any other ordinary person, another slave who joined the Muslims' new community. His prime time, his golden time, actually happens during Ghazwatul Khandaq. We know before Ghazwatul Khandaq we did have already Badr, we did have already Uhud. Kuffar already realizing that the newborn Muslim state is on a rise. Rasulullah with his companions, after the peace that he did already in Medina, he's already recruiting different other Arabian mushriks into Islam. He's becoming a competitive power and they're already having a big concern. Therefore they start to march towards Medina with 10,000 fighters, mushriks from Quraysh, led by Quraysh, after they have managed to gather and recruit other mushriks from different Arabian tribes, and they start walking towards Medina with one thing on their mind: kill Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, finish up the newborn state Muslim, and that's it. Get things back to normal so they can practice and enjoy their life as they used to. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, of course, hears the news and he orders a meeting immediately. It's an emergency case, and of course he wants to consultate with his companions, both Ansar, Muhajirin. What shall we do about this? We went out and we fought in Badr, outside in the desert. We did the same thing pretty much in Uhud. However, now it's a way much bigger wave. Should we stay and fight inside Medina? Should we use our houses as shields, try to protect ourselves? What is the best defensive way that we can fight the mushriks? And there you go. We do have 2 days ago slave sitting in the corner, again in the Arabian racist regime. He's like a nobody yet, except for the Muslims, of course. But he raises his hand and says, may I speak? Rasulullah, of course, says, go ahead, you know. And Salman says, well, where I came from, if we are facing such a huge threat, the very first thing that we would do is to dig a trench. We need to create a big gap between them and us. We want to make sure that they will not be able to get to us. That will buy us a very precious time, that they will hold them back as much as possible. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bring us victory over them. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam adopts that opinion immediately. He grabs his axe and he goes and starts digging with his own hands. Of course, followed by the Muslims community. They all start digging again. They are racing against time because the mushriks have already set out and they are approaching the Medina. Muslims are digging, trying to create that big gap, deep enough, big enough so they can hold the mushriks back. And subhanAllah, it works out. Just keeps them back. The story is very well documented. Surah Al-Ahzab. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings victory after Muslims have been tested. وَبَلَغَتِ الْقُلُوبُ الْحَنَاجِرِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes that was one of the hardest tests that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Muslims alike went through. They just could see death every single minute when they were surrounded and in that siege. Some of the hadiths mentioned that they even were so afraid to go and use the bathrooms or the toilets. Rasulullah gave eventually a direct order to Hudayfa ibn al-Yaman to go and check out what the mushriks are planning. So get disguised. Before he gave him a direct order, he said, who goes and gets us the news from the others? Nobody volunteered. You have Abu Bakr sitting, you have Umar sitting, you have people who have already been in Mecca, in Badr and Uhud. You have people who have already been promised Jannah. Rasulullah, he says, I guarantee his safety. Yet nobody dares to go out. That's how big that threat was. Yet Rasulullah decides to order Hudayfa to go ahead and check out on them, and he goes and he comes back, gets them the news. That's how serious the situation was. Eventually, subhanAllah, they managed to defeat, with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's help, they managed to defeat the mushriks. And that's, of course, when Salman became Medina's superstar. Okay, after Allah's help, it's Salman's decision, of course, that gave them that victory. So now everybody's trying to claim Salman to be on their side. Remember the two communities, would have the Ansars and we have the Muhajireens. So the Ansars would say, well, okay, well, Salman is one of the Ansars. Salman was here before Rasulullah arrived. Salman greeted Rasulullah in Medina. Salman, by definition, is one of the Ansars, so he's one of us. Like they are trying to have him on their side. And then on the other hand, you do have the Muhajirin who say, well, no way, Salman did more than one hijrah. He did hijrah when he was a young boy. He did another hijrah, he was enslaved. He's by definition one of the Muhajirins, of course. And that's when Rasulullah comes into this discussion. He says, well, hold on, Salman is not one of the Ansars. Salman is not one of the Muhajirins. Salmanu minna al-bayt. And that's, of course, the greatest honor that any human being, that any person could even dream about. To become one of al-bayt, that is something above what anybody can even think that he can accomplish in his life period. Just to give you an idea, whenever we say our salah, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad, we are doing dua for Salman. Salman is long time gone, 1400 years already gone, yet Muslims around the globe, every single second there's one Muslim at least, somewhere, Canada, Australia, wherever, is saying Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad, and Salman is already, of course, included by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's decision to declare him as one of al-Bayt. So Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad, Allahumma ijma'na مع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم مع سيدنا سلمان الفارسي في جنات النعيم. Just a quick reminder, we did mention yesterday definition of maqam and grave. This is not a grave, this is a maqam. Many historians suggest or promote that Salman Farsi was buried not in Jerusalem. He came to Jerusalem, he lived in Jerusalem, but he was back in Iraq of today, and he was buried in there. So it's not really it's not really his tomb over here. But since he came to Jerusalem, he lived in Jerusalem, most likely he's been around this area, very convenient. You are about 10 minutes away from Masjid Al-Aqsa al-Mubarak. You can have a land over here, you can have a farm over here, stay in here and enjoy your life. Since we know that Salman actually left Medina immediately when Muslims started competing over power. We have the story of Muawiyah and Ali, and Salman was like, I did not follow deen for this. I don't want to be a king. I don't want to be an emir. I don't want to be responsible for none of this stuff. Okay? I'm just going to take myself, leave this whole area altogether. I'm just going to go. Since Rasulullah in many different hadiths did say more than once when he was asked by the Sahabis, "O Rasulullah, where would you advise us in Bitulina if we were tested to live after you are gone? Where would you advise us to go?" And Rasulullah would reply, "Go to Bayt al-Maqdis." So Salman took that hadith very seriously, The Prophet passed away, Salman took himself and came and settled in Jerusalem. Any question, brothers and sisters? No questions? Shaykh Abdul Aziz, would you like to add anything? Please do.
Just one or two things that, as Ustaz said, it is well known that Salman Al-Farsi was appointed as governor here for a short time, but then he was told to move to Iraq. And obviously he was commanded, so therefore he went, and that's where it's confirmed that that's where he died. So that's one thing. So why did this become such an important place? Is because those people that follow the way of Tasawwuf, for example, they will know that most of the chains come from Sayyidina Ali, Hassan al-Basri, Dawud al-Ta'i, Ma'ruf al-Karhi. This is a famous chain. However, there's one chain which comes directly from Abu Bakr as-Siddiq to Salman al-Farsi, and so he taught his spiritual way here on the Mount of Olives. And then when he left, he still became known as a place where if you want a spiritual guidance in particular, this is a place of great spirituality. And you can see, as Ustaz has said, this is from even before Islam. It has a tradition on this particular spot. Then it kind of fell into, as Baghdad, and became the center with Sayyidina Abdul Qadir Jailani. But about 200 years ago, through a man called Khalid al-Baghdadi, he then came to Jerusalem and he started to spread the spiritual path, which is now known as the Naqhsbandi way. And so that those that follow the Naqhsbandi way in particular, this particular spot has significance in the way that Islam spread, in particular to the Chechen area, to the Balkans, because people would come for Hajj, they would stay in Baghdad, in Jerusalem on the way, they would take the Naqhsbandi tariqah from here, and then they would take their strength in Islam to places like Chechnya, to places like Bosnia. And so the spread of Islam to those areas and the uprisings that took place against the Russians and actually has its spiritual connection on this very spot. Because up until that time, Islam was very weak in those areas, and it's only been in the last 200 years. So this place has got some more political significance of the last few hundred years, a couple of hundred years. That not many people even see the connection. It fell into less, not such a thing. It became less well known. But alhamdulillah, people coming.
Jazakallah khair. Okay, let's move on, please. We do have a long day ahead of us. Jazakumullah khair.
इस पार का जब ये आलम है, उस पार का आलम क्या होगा, उस पार का आलम क्या होगा। कदमों में जबी को रहने दो, चेहरे का तस्वुर मुश्किल है। जब चांद से रोशन तलवे हैं, रुखसार का आलम क्या होगा। जब हुस्न था उनका जलवा नुमा, अनवार का आलम क्या होगा। हर कोई फिदा बिन देखे है, दीदार का आलम क्या होगा।
I think this is a good time for me to end the video. I've just left the Maqam of Salman Al-Farsi radiyallahu anhu. Just bought a map of the old city from one of the locals. As mentioned earlier in the video, a lot of people sell stuff here to make a living. As tourism is quite low here, they hardly get any people. So if you ever do come here, remember to just support the local people, because there is a lot of poverty here. I hope you enjoyed the video. Subscribe for more content. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
लाखों सलाम, लाखों सलाम।